The deep space listening post floated in the quiet of the void, its sensors scanning the endless dark. It had been a routine night for the station's crew, until the alarm blared. The distress signal had been detected, unlike anything seen before. Commander Blake, the officer in charge, rushed to the control room. The screen flickered with strange symbols and distorted audio. The signal was weak, broken, but one thing was clear. It was a desperate call for help. "Can we translate it?" Blake asked. The communications officer, Carter, was already working on it. The AI-assisted translator struggled, but after a few minutes, words began to take shape. The message was full of panic. "They are coming. Unstoppable. Our home is gone. Coordinates attached. Please, anyone, help." A hush fell over the room. This wasn't just a normal distress call. It was a cry of fear, a final plea from a civilization on the edge of extinction. Blake straightened. "Who sent this?" Carter shook his head. "Unknown species. We've never encountered them before. But this signal, it's real. They're in trouble." Another officer, Reynolds, studied the data. "The coordinates are deep in uncharted space, way beyond our colonies. We have no records of any known civilizations out there." Blake crossed his arms. If they're advanced enough to send an SOS, they must have been spacefaring for a while. What could possibly wipe them out so fast? Silence followed. Everyone had the same thought. Whatever attacked them might still be out there. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Intercepting a distress signal was rare, but an unknown species sending a desperate SOS, that was unheard of. Blake turned to Carter. "How old is this message?" "Hard to say exactly, but the signal degradation suggests it's recent. Maybe only a few weeks old." That changed everything. If the message had been sent recently, there was a chance someone was still alive. A chance to save them. Blake tapped his communicator. "Get me Fleet Command. We need a response team immediately." A few days later, the Starfire, one of humanity's most advanced exploration ships, left the nearest spaceport. Its mission: investigate the distress call and, if possible, assist the survivors. Captain Reed, a veteran of many deep space missions, stood on the bridge. His crew was tense but ready. They had all read the transmission. They knew they were heading into the unknown. "ETA to the target coordinates?" Reed asked. 4 days at max warp," replied his navigator. Reed nodded and turned to the ship's tactical officer. "What's our combat status?" "Fully armed, but let's hope we won't need it," the officer replied. Reed doubted that. Something had turned an entire civilization into refugees. Whatever it wasn't friendly. As the Starfire sped through the darkness, the crew prepared for the mission. Engineers double-checked systems, medical teams readied supplies, and the science division analyzed the distress call over and over again. The message had one last line, one that haunted them all. "We are the last. They cannot be stopped." Reed sat in his captain's chair, staring at the endless stars ahead. Humanity had always been explorers, warriors, survivors. But what awaited them at the other end of this mission? Nobody knew. But one thing was certain. Humanity had heard the call, and humanity was coming. The Starfire moved through the void, its engines humming softly as it raced toward the distress signal source. The journey had been smooth so far, but the crew knew the real challenge was ahead. Captain Reed stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. He had led many missions before, but this one felt different. There was an unease in the air, a sense that they were walking into something far bigger than they understood. "How long until we reach the coordinates?" Reed asked. 2 hours, the navigator replied. Reed turned to his tactical officer. "Run a full scan the moment we drop out of warp. I want to know what's waiting for us." The officer nodded. "Understood, Captain." The bridge was silent, except for the soft beeping of instruments. Everyone was on edge. They had all read the distress message. "They cannot be stopped. What kind of enemy could force an entire civilization to send such a desperate call? 2 hours later, the ship reached its destination. The moment they exited warp, alarms blared. "Captain," the sensor officer shouted, "I'm detecting massive debris fields, multiple wrecked ships." The view screen showed a graveyard of twisted metal. Alien vessels, some massive, some small, floated lifelessly in space. Fires still burned in the wreckage. "Scan for survivors," Reed ordered. Already on it, the officer's fingers moved quickly over the console, picking up weak life signs from one of the larger ships. Barely any power left. Reed's jaw tightened. "Get a team ready. We're going over there." Minutes later, a boarding team, including Reed, suited up and entered a shuttle. As they approached the alien ship, the damage became clearer. Deep claw-like gashes ran along its hull, as if something had torn through the metal with ease. The docking sequence completed, and the airlock opened with a hiss. Inside, the ship was in chaos. Sparks flew from broken panels, and a strange, acrid smell filled the air. Bodies, alien bodies, floated in the zero-gravity corridors. Then, a weak sound came from deeper inside the ship. A voice. The team followed the noise and found them. Survivors. A small group of aliens, their thin bodies covered in wounds and dirt, huddled in the dark. Their eyes widened at the sight of humans. They were terrified. Reed raised a hand slowly. "We're here to help." The aliens exchanged nervous glances before one of them, weaker than the rest, stepped forward. It spoke in a shaky voice, the translator struggling to keep up. "You are human." Reed nodded. "Yes, we received your distress signal." The alien's body trembled, and for a moment, it looked like it might collapse. "We thought no one would come." Reed's expression hardened. "Who did this to you?" The alien looked past him, toward the wreckage outside. Its next words sent a chill through the team. "They are still here." Back on the Starfire, the rescued aliens were given medical treatment and food. They were weak, but thankful. The one who had spoken earlier introduced himself as Farron, though his real name was longer and unpronounceable in human speech. Reed sat across from him in the medical bay, eager for answers. "Tell me what happened." Farron took a slow breath. "Our people. We were explorers, much like you. We had colonies, trade routes, a homeworld filled with life. Then they came." "Who?" Farron's hands clenched into fists. "Machines, but not like yours. They are different, alive, yet not. They do not speak. They do not negotiate. They only destroy." Reed frowned. "AI gone rogue." Farron shook his head. "No. Worse, we never understood them. They adapt, change. Each time we found a weakness, they learned and returned stronger. They took our planets, our fleets, our people." Reed exchanged glances with his officers. This was bad. Farron's voice became hollow. "They do not leave survivors. We are only alive because they believe we are already dead." Reed stood. "Then they'll come back." Farron met his gaze. "Yes, and when they do, you will see why we called them unstoppable." The room was silent. The weight of those words pressed down on everyone. Then Reed spoke. His voice was calm, firm. "We'll see about that." The Starfire drifted in the void, surrounded by the wreckage of a lost civilization. Inside, Captain Reed stood in the briefing room with his officers, staring at a holographic projection of Farron, the alien survivor. His people were nearly extinct, their worlds erased by an enemy that knew no mercy. Farron sat on the other side of the table, still weak but stable after receiving medical care. His large eyes darted between the humans, wary but grateful. Reed leaned forward. "Tell us everything. Who are these machines? Where did they come from?" Farron exhaled slowly, as if the memories themselves were painful. "We do not know. We called them the drones, but they are more than machines. They learn, they change, they consume. Reed's officers listened carefully. The room was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Varen continued, his voice hollow. At first, we believed they were a rogue AI, like your kind have feared in old stories. But we were wrong. They are something else. They do not seek power. They do not seek control. They only seek destruction. One of Reed's officers, Carter, frowned. But why? What do they gain from wiping out entire civilizations? Varen's expression darkened. We never found an answer. We sent diplomats, messages, signals of peace. There was no reply, no response, only silence. And then, the attacks. Reed exchanged glances with his team. A force that could not be reasoned with was a nightmare. Varen closed his eyes for a moment, as if replaying the horrors in his mind. They came from the dark, without warning. Our outer colonies fell first. At first, we fought back. Our fleets were strong, our weapons powerful. We thought we could stop them. But they were watching, learning. Each time we won a battle, they'd return stronger. They adapted. And then, they no longer just destroyed our ships. They infected them. Carter stiffened. Infected. Varen nodded. They hacked into our systems, took control of our own ships, turned them against us. Our own technology became their weapon. Our own defenses became our prison. Reed's jaw tightened. This wasn't just a war. It was extermination. Varen's voice grew weaker. World after world fell. Our homeworld, gone. They did not just kill our people. They erased us. Entire cities, entire planets, stripped clean, as if we never existed. The room was silent. The horror of it all settled in. Finally, Reed spoke, and now they're still out there. Varen met his gaze. Yes, and they know you are here. On the Starfire's bridge, alarms suddenly blared. Captain, the sensor officer shouted. Something is coming out of FTL. Reed rushed to the command chair. Visual. The main screen flickered to life, showing the vast emptiness of space. At first, there was nothing. Then, the darkness itself seemed to ripple. A ship, if it could be called that, appeared. It wasn't like anything the humans had ever seen. It had no clear shape, no solid form. Its hull twisted and shifted like liquid metal, constantly changing. Pulsing red lights flickered along its body, as if it were alive. Varen's voice was barely a whisper. They have found us. Reed's instincts screamed danger. Shields up. Weapons online. The alien machine didn't waste time. It moved. Fast. Too fast. It closed the distance between them in seconds. Incoming attack. A beam of energy lashed out from the machine, striking the Starfire's shields. The ship trembled, lights flickering. The impact was stronger than anything they had expected. They're scanning us, Carter said. They're learning. Reed's grip tightened on his chair. Not this time. Fire. The Starfire's cannons roared to life, sending a barrage of high-energy rounds at the enemy. The shots hit, but instead of breaking apart, the Starfire's cannons roared to life, sending a barrage of energy rounds toward the alien machine. The shots struck its shifting, liquid-like hull, but instead of shattering, the enemy absorbed them. The red lights pulsing across its body flickered, and then brightened, as if it had just grown stronger. Captain, Carter shouted, our weapons aren't working. It's adapting. Reed gritted his teeth. Redirect power to the shields. Keep firing. Switch to alternating frequencies. The ship's weapons adjusted, firing at different energy levels to prevent the enemy from adapting too quickly. Some shots broke through, forcing small ripples across the alien hull. But the damage was minor. They're still learning, Varen whispered, his face pale. Soon, they will become immune. Reed knew they couldn't fight like this. The Starfire was fast and well-armed, but this enemy wasn't just strong. It was evolving in real time. The alien machine suddenly split apart, its body unfolding like liquid metal, revealing dozens of sharp, tendril-like appendages. Then it launched forward. Brace for impact. A tendril slammed into the Starfire's shields, sending a tremor through the entire ship. Warning alarms screamed across the bridge. Shields at 60%, Carter reported. Another hit like that and the ship lurched again, this time harder. Sparks exploded from the control panels. The alien was trying to break through. Reed's mind raced. He had to think like a human. Fast, unpredictable. If brute force didn't work, then they needed strategy. Helm, he barked. Execute emergency thruster burn. Now. The Starfire's engines blazed, pushing the ship into a sudden, violent spin. The alien tendrils missed their target, slashing through empty space. The machine tried to readjust, but for the first time, it had miscalculated. That's it, Reed muttered. They learn, but so do we. The enemy paused for a moment, as if reassessing. Then, without warning, it retreated. Everyone stared at the screen in shock. It's leaving, Carter asked. The alien ship folded into itself, its liquid-like body shifting and twisting before vanishing into the darkness. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Varen exhaled sharply. They are testing you. Reed turned to him. Testing us. Varen nodded grimly. They never attack at full strength in the beginning. They study their prey. Now they have seen your weapons, your tactics. When they return, they will be prepared. Reed clenched his fists. Then we'll be prepared too. In the following hours, the crew of the Starfire worked nonstop. Engineers repaired the damaged systems, scientists analyzed the enemy's movements, and weapons officers brainstormed new tactics. They had survived the first encounter, but barely. Reed stood in the war room with his senior officers. A holographic model of the alien machine floated in the air. It twisted and shifted, just as it had in battle. Carter pointed at the model. This thing isn't just a machine. It's alive in some way. It doesn't have a single weak spot like a normal ship. But we did notice something. When we hit it with rapid frequency changes, it struggled to adapt. Reed nodded. So we need to stay unpredictable. Varen frowned. Unpredictability is the only reason you are still alive. My people relied on strategy, logic, and patterns. The drones adapted and destroyed us. But humans, you think differently. Reed smirked. That's our advantage. They expect us to fight like a machine. We won't. Carter leaned forward. So what's the plan? Reed looked at the alien hologram, his mind racing. He didn't have all the answers yet, but one thing was clear. The enemy had come once. They would come again. And this time, humanity would be ready. The Starfire drifted through space, surrounded by the wreckage of alien ships. The enemy had left, but the battle was far from over. In the war room, Captain Reed and his officers stood around a holographic display of the alien machine they had faced. The model twisted and shifted, just like the real thing had in battle. We need a way to kill this thing, Reed said. Carter, the tactical officer, pointed at the model. We know its biggest strength. It adapts. But that's also its weakness. If we keep changing tactics faster than it can learn, we can keep it off balance. Varen, the alien survivor, shook his head. That is what my people tried. It worked for a while. But eventually, they learned everything. Then they wiped us out. Reed narrowed his eyes. Then we have to do something they've never seen before. Carter frowned. Like what? Reed leaned over the table. We make it think it's winning. And then we pull the rug out from under it. The room fell silent. Varen looked at Reed, confused. Explain. Reed's lips curled into a small grin. A feint. A trick. We let them believe they've outsmarted us. Then, when they lower their guard, we hit them with something they never saw coming. Carter's eyes lit up. Like a trap. Exactly. The next few hours were a storm of activity. Engineers worked on modifying the ship's weapons. Scientists ran simulations. Every crew member prepared for the second attack, because everyone knew the enemy would be back. The Starfire didn't run. It didn't hide. Instead, it sent out a signal, a fake distress call. "Are you sure this will work?" Carter asked as the message was transmitted. Reed nodded. "If they're as smart as we think, they'll come to finish the job." Varen looked uneasy. "If you are wrong, you have just called death upon yourselves." Reed's voice was firm. "Then we'll introduce death to them first." The wait didn't last long. An hour later, the alarms blared. "Captain," the sensor officer shouted. "Multiple contacts." They took the bait. On the view screen, 3 alien machines emerged from the darkness. Each one was like the first, shifting, twisting, learning. But now, they were coming in full force. "Here they come," Carter muttered. Reed stood tall. "Hold steady. Let them think we're afraid." The alien ships moved fast, spreading out to surround the Starfire. Their liquid-like hulls pulsed with glowing red veins. "They're scanning us again," Carter reported. "They're expecting us to fight like last time." Reed smirked. "Then let's give them something new. Fire the decoys." From the Starfire's hull, a dozen fake energy signatures burst outward. These decoy drones mimicked the ship's power readings, making it look like there were multiple Starfires. The alien machines hesitated. For the first time, they didn't attack immediately. "They're confused," Carter whispered. Reed didn't waste the moment. "Now, fire the disruptor." The Starfire's modified cannon unleashed a pulse of unstable energy, tuned to constantly shift its frequency. The blast struck one of the alien ships, causing it to convulse violently. "It's working," Carter yelled. "It can't adapt fast enough." The alien machine shuddered, its body twisting unnaturally. For the first time, a drone screamed, a terrible, metallic shriek. Then, its form collapsed into molten fragments. One down. The other two, realizing the danger, rushed forward in a fury. Incoming attack. One drone fired a beam, striking the Starfire's shields. The ship trembled, but it held. Reed's voice was calm. "Hit them again. Full power." The disruptor fired once more, striking the second drone. It tried to adapt, but the randomized energy patterns overloaded its systems. It exploded into fiery debris. Now, only one enemy remained. The last drone stopped moving. Its red glow flickered. Then, without warning, it turned and flowed into deep space. Carter's hands tightened into fists. "It's running." Reed exhaled. "No, it's going to report back." Varen's expression was grim. "They will return. Stronger." Reed's jaw tightened. "Let them." He turned to his crew. "We just killed them for the first time. That means they're not unstoppable. Now, we find a way to end this war." The Starfire floated in the silence of space, surrounded by the wreckage of the 2 destroyed alien machines. The crew had won the battle, but they knew the war was far from over. Captain Reed stood on the bridge, his arms crossed as he stared at the main screen. The last drone had escaped. It was only a matter of time before it returned with reinforcements. "They will come back," Varen said. He stood beside Reed, his face tense. "And next time, they will be stronger." Reed nodded. "We expected that, which is why we're going to end this war before it truly begins." Carter, the tactical officer, frowned. "How? We barely survived that fight. If they return with a full fleet, we won't stand a chance." Reed turned to the war room screen. A holographic projection showed the enemy's escape path. "They have a home base," Reed said, "a central core where they process everything they've learned. If we destroy it before they fully adapt to us, we might have a chance to wipe them out completely." Varen's eyes widened. "You want to attack their origin point? That is madness." Reed smirked. "No, it's humanity." The crew of the Starfire worked tirelessly to prepare. Engineers reinforced the ship's hull. Scientists fine-tuned the disruptor weapon. The best minds on board analyzed the enemy's flight path, trying to predict where their core might be. Finally, the calculations were complete. The enemy's likely base was located in a dark sector of space, a dead zone, devoid of stars or planets. "This place is completely empty," Carter said, staring at the data. "There's nothing there." "That's exactly why they would hide there," Reed replied. "No natural light, no signals, no interference. The perfect location for something that wants to stay undetected." Varen still looked uncertain. "If my people had found their core, we would have destroyed it. But we never could. What makes you think you will succeed where we failed?" Reed's voice was steady. "Because your people followed logic. We don't. We take risks." He looked at his crew. "Set course. Maximum speed." The Starfire jumped into faster-than-light travel, racing toward the enemy's hidden stronghold. Hours later, the ship dropped out of FTL. The screen showed a vast emptiness, a place where light itself seemed to fade. Then, as they scanned deeper, they saw it, the core. It wasn't a planet or a station. It was something far worse. A colossal structure hung in the darkness, a massive swarm of shifting metal, constantly reconfiguring itself. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of drones floated around it, moving in eerie silence. Carter's voice was barely a whisper. "That's their brain." Varen's face darkened. "If you destroy that, you destroy all of them." Reed's heart pounded. "Then let's finish this." The Starfire went dark, powering down all unnecessary systems. No lights, no energy emissions. It became a shadow in space, drifting toward the core. Inside the ship, the crew worked quickly. They had a single chance to get this right. Carter whispered, "Weapons ready." Reed took a deep breath. "Fire the virus." A small stealth probe was launched, carrying a data virus designed by the ship's engineers. If it worked, it would corrupt the drone's core, sending chaotic data into their systems, overloading them before they could adapt. The probe slipped through the darkness, unnoticed. It latched onto the core and injected the virus. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, chaos. The entire drone fleet shuddered, their red lights flickering wildly. Some of them crashed into each other, their bodies twisting in confusion. The core itself convulsed, unable to process the attack. Carter's eyes widened. "It's working." Reed's voice was sharp. "Now, hit them with everything we've got." The Starfire's disruptor cannon fired, blasting into the weakened core. The structure tore apart, chunks of it melting under the energy waves. The drones screamed, a horrible metallic wail, as their network collapsed. One by one, the alien machines shut down, their bodies freezing in space. The war was ending. Reed exhaled, watching the destruction unfold. "We did it." Varen, stunned, whispered, "You actually won." Reed nodded. Humanity doesn't lose easily. But deep down, he knew, something this powerful didn't just appear out of nowhere. This war might be over, but something else was out there, waiting. The battlefield was silent. The once powerful enemy core now drifted as a shattered wreck in the darkness of space. Thousands of lifeless drones floated, their red lights extinguished. The war was over. On the Starfire's bridge, the crew stared at the screen in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. Humanity had won. Carter let out a deep breath. "We actually did it." Reed leaned back in his chair, exhaustion washing over him. "Yeah, we did." Varen still looked at the screen, his expression unreadable. "You destroyed them, just like that." Reed turned to him. "Wasn't that the goal?" Varen hesitated, then spoke. "Yes, but something doesn't feel right." Carter frowned. "What do you mean?" Varen pointed at the wreckage. "These things wiped out entire civilizations, including mine. They adapted, they learned, They were unstoppable. But today, we stopped them. That's the point, Reed said. We outsmarted them. Varen shook his head. Or maybe they were just a tool. A weapon sent by something else. A heavy silence fell over the room. Reed frowned. You think something bigger was controlling them? Varen exhaled slowly. The drones were powerful, but they never acted with true purpose. They were like a virus, spreading, consuming, but never deciding for themselves. Someone, somewhere, could have built them. Carter's hands tightened into fists. If that's true, then we just made an enemy of whoever created them. A chilling thought settled in Reed's mind. Destroying the drones might not have been a victory. It might have been a warning signal, a message to whatever was out there. And humanity had just declared itself a threat. As the Starfire moved away from the battlefield, Reed ordered a final scan of the area. The crew needed to make sure the drones were truly dead. Scanning complete, Carter reported. No signs of life. The entire network is gone. Reed nodded, relieved. But before he could give the command to leave, the ship's sensors flared with activity. Captain, the sensor officer shouted. We're detecting something coming from deep space. Reed turned sharply. What kind of signal? The officer hesitated, checking the readings. It's not a distress call. It's something else. A transmission. A cold chill ran through Reed's spine. Put it on screen. The monitor flickered. At first, there was only static. Then, a deep, inhuman voice filled the bridge. We have seen you. The crew froze. The voice was alien, mechanical, but not like the drones. This voice had intent behind it. The message continued. You are different. You are dangerous. You should not exist. Reed's hands clenched into fists. Who is this? You have destroyed our tools, but you are still primitive. We are watching. We are coming. The transmission cut off. Silence filled the bridge once more. Carter swallowed hard. What the hell was that? Varen closed his eyes. The true enemy. Reed exhaled, his mind racing. The drones were never the real danger. They were just the beginning. Humanity had survived its first war against an unknown force. But something far worse was coming. And next time, Earth might not be ready.